It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
A flat six flying through Watkins Glen International, and that's what we're going to hear here in the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America by Yokohama. The Caymans are back again, once again, and I'm Joe Peak here, joined by Ryan Marine, and we have our special guest Riley Dickinson here with us. Riley, I have to say, yesterday we got a bit of a fun one with two brand new winners, but we get two races every weekend, so now the question is, can they follow up that performance?
I think we can. Watkins Glen always provides great racing. We saw yesterday there was a bit drama-filled, so I'm expecting to see pretty much more of the same today. Hopefully we get a new winner in the series. It's always good excitement for the fans to watch, so I think it's going to be another good one.
One of the things that amused me, though, Ryan, is on the weekend of America's birthday, we had two non-Americans win in the Caymans yesterday, so maybe the American contingent needs to strike back.
I think today's the day for it, that's for sure. And look, it was a great story yesterday. Carolyn Conda finally getting her first win, and it's been a long time coming. She's been knocking on the door for quite some time. Her family was here from France to take it all in. And hey, look, the French were our allies in the Revolution, so there is something a little bit fitting there as well. He says kind of. Anyway, and then Alain Scalzo from Canada, great effort from him, and a big bounce back as well, because he had the accident earlier in the weekend. That was a backup chassis that the team had to thrash to prepare. They did a tremendous job, and the end result was his first victory of the year.
And to be fair, Lady Liberty is from France, so...
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it. We'll let it slide.
Cars are already on the pace lap here. We get two warm-up laps, and then we go racing for 35 minutes plus one lap. So as we watch them come through the boot, why don't we go through our starting order for today with Ian Porter back on the front row and Carolyn Conda, yesterday's winner, going to be starting next to him. Then we get back to row two, and it is Nick Schaefer, who unfortunately was involved in a lap one accident with Ian. So still looking for that first win. This is his absolute last chance to take that victory with Scalzo next to him. Then it's Lonnie Unser, followed by Michael Clark there on row three. The Kelly Moss drivers completing that row with Bill Fennick starting in 7th position. Chris Hutter going to be starting from 8th. He had a great run yesterday himself, but looking for a podium. Kopczynski will be starting in 9th, Ryan, with Sean McCaig rounding out our top 10.
Really good qualifying effort from Tom. Kopczynski's had a good weekend here so far. Rowan Crine starts in the 11th spot. He'll have Jim Johnson alongside. Jim was our guest in the booth for the GT3 Cup race yesterday. Row number 7 belongs to Joe Rizzo from BGB Motorsports, and he'll have the RCX Motorsports driver Woody Witchard alongside, starting 14th overall. To the 8th row now, Rob Trollinger from Goldcrest Motorsports will have the Rafa Racing Team by JDX team owner Rafa Martinez starting alongside. That is 2 cars from 2 different classes. Paige Morales, another Rafa Racing driver, starting in 17th, and Thomas Kerr from TPC Racing starting in the 18th position. And in the 10th row, Joe Petkus, tough day yesterday, looking to bounce back. He'll have to do so from the back of the field, driving for RCX Motorsports.
Yeah, in fact, I think it was Petkus who was involved in that big accident that stopped us late in the race. So wonder what condition that car is in after all that. Now, Riley, this is quite early in the morning, considerably. It's actually a bit of a cooler start than what we've had for some of the other races this weekend. We've heard the drivers saying that these cars can be a bit marginal sometimes going through the S's. On these cold tires and these cold conditions, what's that going to do through there on the first lap?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely going to create probably a little bit of instability through the S's, but I'm more, I guess, curious about the bus stop. Just making sure the tire is able to be up to pressure through the bus stop and not abuse the curbs so much and ultimately, potentially have a tire failure. So these drivers will do a nice job to get the tire nice and warm for this out lap here and get ready to go for the first couple laps and make sure they can use the most of the bus stop as they can. But to your point, it is a nice cool morning. Today it's, I think, 73 ambient right now. So it's definitely a bit cooler than what we've had in the days past. So should provide some good racing here on this first couple laps.
How much do the teams need to adjust for those conditions? How different are the setups this morning compared to racing in the heat of the day yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit, but ultimately, I think once the cars get going, it's going to kind of probably shift back to a similar balance as to what they had yesterday. Maybe it'll have a little bit more understeer in the cars, but, typically with the GT4 Cayman, it's always going to trend to an oversteer feeling. So, maybe just trying to keep that out of the car as much as possible is going to be the way to go.
Should be seeing the cars line up 2x2 pretty soon here as we check in with Jim Johnson's Rebel Rock Racing car, one of our many onboards that we have this weekend. He looks pretty ready to go as they come out of turn 8 up towards 9. This is back up to the main course and heading out of the boot. And you can see them now getting ready to line up and go. We've already had quite the race yesterday. Ian Porter going to try and bounce back, but Nick Schaefer, no doubt, he is a driver on a mission today. I'm sure he's feeling a little bit hard done by considering he didn't even get to complete the race with his accident on lap 1. So what is it going to look like down into that first corner for that number 70 machine? He is right on the tail of Ian Porter. He is not going to let him get away this time as they come out of the final corner up to the starting zone, waiting for the call from the flagman, and green flag looks to be out. We had a bit of a checkup, maybe not quite yet. Now it's being flown as Ian Porter does get a good jump, and so does Nick Schaefer. Carolyn has no answer, tries to maybe kind of push him down to the inside a little bit, but he is going to sneak through, and they head out of the 90 up towards the S's, Ryan.
Remember, it was Schaefer and Porter that got together in the inner loop on the first lap yesterday. They're in an inverse order here with Porter out in front, but Schaefer's starting to reel him back in. Conda, the winner yesterday, she too looking pretty racy here in the early going, sitting in a healthy 3rd position.
She'll want that second spot back. I'm sure she'd like to get another at least 1-2 for the Rafa Racing Team as they fly down towards the inner loop. Will they be able to go through safely? Looks pretty single file up at the front of the field before they hit the outer loop, and looks like, Riley, we at least made it through that first one.
Yeah, we definitely did a little bit better than yesterday, so that was definitely a positive. Nick had a great run there through the bus stop. He gained a little bit on Ian, but it looks like Ian gained a bit more through turn 5, and we can see there, the gaps are kind of ebbing and flowing a bit. Nick is kind of falling back into Caroline's gap a bit, but really good first lap. Everyone kept it clean, and hopefully we're able to keep that same trend and have a nice green flag run here.
Scalzo holds on to the Masters lead as well. He was being chased by Michael Clark yesterday, but Scalzo came out victorious with that first win. What's it going to look like today with Clark leading our points championship down in that Masters class? Looks like Lonnie Unser has moved herself up into 4th past Scalzo, though, as they come out of the boot and up back into the main circuit once again. It is still Ian Porter leading, and Nick Schaefer can't seem to get within more than a couple car lengths.
A good spot there, Joe. Was Lonnie able to make that pass in the S's? An excellent guess as she was already up in the 4th overall. So now it's the top 4 in the Pro-Am class running in line to stern order here, with Ian Porter showing the way. Then it's Schaefer And yesterday's winner, Carolyn Conda, Lonnie Unser had her second podium of the season yesterday. She's up to 4th. Scalzo now leads Bill Finnick. Bill with a great start. He was able to jump around Michael Clark, get up to 6th overall, second in class. And Michael Clark, the runner-up from yesterday, the points leader in Masters, now settling for 3rd as it stands. But here comes Carolyn Conda looking very aggressive coming up through the S's.
She's right on the bumper of Nick Schaefer. What can he do to try and rebuff this attack as they come up towards the inner loop? He just about slides himself somewhat to the inside, but not fully, and that will dissuade the 84 from trying to make an attempt, Riley.
Yeah, I mean, for right now, Carolyn's probably just kind of trying to see where he's strong, where she's a bit weak, where she can maybe try and set herself up for a good pass. It's most likely, if I had to guess, going into the bus stop, we saw her get a really nice run through turn 1 there last time by. She had a bit of a wiggle at the top of the S's, so she'll probably try and adjust that for the next lap, but you can see she's trying different lines, trying to adjust herself a little bit just to try and get the most speed out of that car and hopefully make a move here on Nick.
You'll hear us refer to the bus stop and the inner loop. The terms are interchangeable. It was a portion of the track that was actually added in 1992 to abate some of the high speeds that were seen at the end of that straightaway that effectively includes the S's when you're running without that chicane. And it certainly has served that purpose, adds another passing zone to the lap as well. But you'll hear both terms, bus stop and inner loop, when we're talking about that same section of the racetrack.
And interestingly, that wasn't the first chicane added here. The S's actually had one for some time, I believe in the 70s. If you see that little bump out up through there, that's where that chicane was, where the pavement kind of juts out at one point. Obviously, they got rid of that a little bit later on. But it is definitely high speed through them here today. Let's see if Conda can get another good run. What intrigues me is that it was Ian who seemed really fast out of there. I wonder if maybe Carolyn had looked at a bit of his data and picked up a few pointers.
She's doing a great job right now, settling into 3rd spot. You mentioned Nick Schaefer being a man on a mission this weekend. He's about to quite literally be a man on a mission. He leaves in a couple of weeks' time to go on a mission trip down to South America. So I don't know if the pun was intended or not, but I enjoyed it, Joe.
It actually wasn't, ironically, this time. But yeah, I guess that is a fitting choice of words. There is our leader, Porter. Last time across the line, about 1.5 seconds, and it looks like that is actually growing as he is dropping Nick. Definitely wanting to try and make up. And I was reading up on his social media, Ryan. It sounded like he actually had some damage from that incident. So the car wasn't 100%. I wonder if he's going to be a lot harder to beat today.
Yeah, you might be onto something there. It was a great drive from Ian, who had that drive-through penalty for the contact with Nick Schaefer. He drove his way all the way back to 2nd on the road. Ultimately, a penalty was issued for a pass that he made on a restart. And at the time, we speculated if it was a too many track limits infraction, but actually that wasn't the case, as we see a move being made potentially here. Schaefer going on the defensive. Conda taking a peek around the outside here in the boot section of the racetrack. Conda crossing back over, unable to make the pass here, but quickly to put a bow on the Porter story, found out from talking to race control afterwards, it was the fact that he went effectively out of bounds in order to make the pass and didn't give those positions back. That ultimately led to a time penalty being applied. It cost him 2nd place. He still did end up in 3rd in class, only barely so. Chris Hutter, I think, came away on adjusted time, maybe 0.9 seconds away from scoring the big podium.
A little close for him. Hutter's actually in 5th in that Pro-Am class right now, but he is separated by our podium of Masters drivers, Scalzo, Finnick, and Clark. Finnick, I think, having overtaken Clark since the start of this race. See if he can hold him off. And as soon as I say that, what happened to Finnick? He lost that position. Kopczynski moves into 3rd, and Hutter even managed to go by the 15 car.
Wow. Yeah, you have to wonder what led to that. Bill had a great day yesterday, able to get up on the podium. Tom Kopczynski having a wonderful weekend here at Watkins Glen. Did have a little bit of an issue in the first race that cost him a top 5 finish, but right now finds himself running 3rd. Wow, Schaefer dropping wheels there. That looked like a scary moment. I could tell by your face, Riley. You wouldn't want to be there.
No, I was going to say, it looked a bit deep on the brakes, and I was like, man, I wonder if he's actually going to be able to make this or not. But, yeah, I mean, good for him to keep it between the white lines for the most part. But, yeah, that was definitely a bit of a scary moment, I'm sure, inside the car. Well, and a lot of the drivers have been talking about those new pyramid curbs at the apex of the first
part, but we might have to come back to that point in a minute. Down into the toe of the boot, there is a big look from Conda, but the French driver unable to manage to get to the inside. Still, we have heard so much talk about her needing to be more aggressive from input from the team, and I think she's starting to listen to it.
Well, it was in that same section in the toe of the boot yesterday. She made a really late braking maneuver to the inside of Alan Scalzo. That was really impressive to see, and it set her up ultimately to go for the race win when Porter had to serve his penalty. So she definitely is starting to exhibit some of that aggression that the team is looking for, but it's a controlled aggression to this point. She's done a really good job keeping that car in good shape over the course of these race weekends so far in her rookie season.
But I wanted to ask Riley about those new apexes, since we saw Nick kind of go deep into that corner off to the left-hand side. Is it kind of the lesser of two evils to try and aim the car there instead of trying to take it too far to the right to make up for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for that situation, he just got in a little bit too deep into the corner, so he kind of understeered a little bit, for lack of better words, into the bus stop, and so he got a little bit compromised for the second curb through there on the bus stop chicane. So, he's, again, a little bit wide there in the S's, so maybe Caroline's able to get a nice run and maybe attack again then going into the bus stop. But to your point, it has definitely changed a lot of the dynamics through that bus stop chicane, whether it be a cup car, GT4, or even a higher level vehicle. So definitely something to get used to, no doubt.
Seems like she is getting the pressure to him a little bit. She's forcing him to defend and make a few mistakes, but did she actually make her own mistake there?
Well, yeah, I mean, Nick, he's a lot more committed, I guess you could say, over that first curbing through the bus stop. And Caroline, she's not taking as much. I can say, though, from a couple weeks ago when I was here for the Michelin Pilot Challenge for the IMSA weekend, taking too much of that curb can certainly be a little bit of your detriment to the underbody of the car. It can cause a bit of damage. So for Nick, he's definitely hanging out here on the line. He's trying to get everything that he can out of the car, because Caroline's doing a great job applying the pressure and making sure that Nick has to extract everything that he can out of the car.
That's been one of our closest battles on the track for quite some time now, and yet it has been stuck in this stalemate of Nick leading and Conda in third behind him. They come out of the heel of the boot now and up towards turn 9. This is a tricky one up through here. Behind them, Lonnie Unser probably urging them on to try and battle a little bit more.
Certainly, I mean, I think right now Nick Schaefer is definitely Lonnie Unser's best friend right now. Lonnie, she just put in her best lap of the race of 56.4, and the two drivers in front of them just did a 56.5, 56.5. We'll see what they do on this line now once they come through. Nick Schaefer and Caroline, they just both did a 56.4. Let's see what Lonnie did. 56.7, so she lost out a little bit of time there during the lap, but certainly for her to continue to move forward, Nick Schaefer is going to be her best friend. Just hopefully they can fight a little bit more so she can close that gap and ultimately get into the battle here for a podium.
That's Scalzo on screen. He continues to lead. He sets his personal best this latest lap at a 56.9. Big story for him this weekend has been this is a backup car that he actually managed to win in yesterday. Unfortunately, tubbed the other one on Friday, and now finds himself looking at potentially back-to-back wins. He's holding off Michael Clark by almost 2 seconds at this stage, although we have plenty of race left to go, Ryan.
Talked to Alain on Friday shortly after he had that accident, and the initial car, they weren't entirely sure the extent of the damage. It needed to go to a Porsche certified repair center to take a look to see if it could be repaired. There's some hope that maybe they can replace a little bit of the bodywork and maybe weld on some new parts and things like that. It just needs to be determined the extent of the damage. But the story that he told me that I thought was interesting is he had a big crash last year at Road America, and that caused him to miss the next round of the championship because he did not have a backup car, and he learned from that. He said, I'm not going to do that again. I didn't like sitting on the sidelines. So that was the genesis of bringing a backup chassis to the racetrack, and I think the team is quite clever with what they did. They used a test session earlier this week to actually shake down the backup chassis. So it's not like it's just been sitting in the trailer collecting cobwebs. They know that it's good to go. They've even run it at this track to give it maybe a little bit of setup work to make sure it's on the same level as the primary car. And look, we saw it was super well prepared yesterday as he came away with that big win.
Yeah, kudos to the team. That's a very, very smart approach, no doubt. Yeah, definitely what you should do with a backup car. So yeah, kudos to them for that. And unfortunately they had to pull it out this weekend, but in the event that they did have to pull it out, the car was ready to go, and clearly it's definitely on par with his current car that he has as the primary car for himself, and yeah, he's doing a fantastic job right now.
Clearly a well-organized team who've got their heads together. But now Ian Porter is up to 5 seconds ahead of Nick, bouncing back from yesterday's poor performance. He has been dominating this race thus far in the early stages. Still 22 minutes and a lap left to go in this event. We'll see if anybody can manage to chase him down. And, of course, there is always the unknown of a full course caution, backing things up and bringing the field back to him.
That was a big part of Ian's success yesterday, quite frankly, is he was making up a lot of ground on his own, but then there were a couple of cautions that helped condense that field again and let him start that attack once more, and that's part of the story as what helped him get to the front. Quite frankly, the other thing that helped him is those cautions were all quite short. They were quick retrievals, so it's not like he lost a whole lot of time trying to get to the top spot during those caution periods. But it's funny that the thing he was hoping for yesterday is the thing he wants to see the least today with this big lead that's now nearly 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's typically how it works, right? Whether it's a rival on track that you don't want to be around, okay, next day, you're always going to be next to him. But yeah, typically that's always how it works. It's just the way, I guess, the yin and yang of motorsports is always going to be.
I'm kind of looking through our timing and scoring to see who is close. And, well, this one definitely is still close. This fight 4 seconds between Nick and Caroline. But also we can't discount Kopczynski and Hutter. Now, that's not for class position, but remember, Hutter wants to try and get through these podium finishers in the Masters so that he can chase down Lonnie Unser and see if he can get a position. But that's going to be hard work, I think, with how much she's separated from him up to this point. But that's the first task for the 81 car, is just getting by Tom, Michael, and Alon.
Now, Chris did get by Tom just on that last lap, and he's pretty quick. He's been running laps about a half a second quicker than even Lonnie Unser up in the 4th spot, and that's with him coming through some traffic. So that's a car to keep an eye on. Good spot there, Joe. Hutter was able to make that 1 spot, but now continues to move his way forward.
Coming up through the inner loop once again. Conda now looking a lot stronger than she was before in comparison to Schaefer. They'll swing it through the outer loop, getting ready to try and set it up for the chute. This is where it steeply drops downhill now into here, and braking going to be so difficult until it finally compresses into the toe and going wide. Now Nick loses grip. This opens up the door for Conda.
Right up the inside, she saw the door open and needed no second invitation. She is through. That's for the 2nd spot, and now she's going to be hoping for a yellow flag here that would condense this gap. We saw yesterday her pace was even, if not a little bit better at times, than Ian Porter's pace. So if we could get a reset here, we might have a race on our hands for the lead of this race.
No doubt. That was actually what I was just thinking. To your point yesterday, she was definitely quicker. I mean, we'll be nice to Ian, I get that, but she was certainly pulling away there at the end. So I think, for Ian, if he goes out and kind of doesn't really take care of his stuff and kind of burns off the rear tire, and there is a full course yellow here with, we'll say 5 to 10 minutes left to go here, and everything gets caught back up, there's a late race restart, we could certainly have a race on our hands.
I'll come to Ian's defense, though. At the end of that race yesterday, he had
to fight.
He did.
Absolutely
he might
had
not
to
have
fight.
had as sharp of a weapon to
Yeah.
work with at the end of that race, because he was using up those Yokohamas coming through the field, running in traffic and in dirty air, while Carolyn spent most of that race up in front. So I'm not sure we saw exactly on even footing just how quick the two of them are. I hope we get a chance to here before this race is said and done.
Agreed. It would be really good to see, and roles reversed.
Right.
It'd be good.
See how she fares trying to go on the attack for sure. Well, she did quite well in this one, and it certainly seems like she was held up. The 84 is gone. Many car lengths between herself and the 70 at this stage. So we'll see what happens from here. Martinez, in the meantime, a little bit farther down, chasing Paige Morales. Now, I believe they were flipped around yesterday, so now Rafa has to try and see what he can do to pass his teammate and driver on his team that he owns, actually, in this series. I always wonder what that dynamic must feel like, knowing that he has to compete with them, but technically he's their boss.
Yes, and also he's there to help nurture some of these young drivers that he's taken under his wing. I mean, his racing career is quite young too, but this whole Rafa Racing program is about identifying talent, introducing people to motorsports, and helping bring them up the ladder. And Paige Morales is one of these young talents that he's identified that he wants to help elevate their game. But to your point, yeah, when the helmet goes on, do you go into race driver mode, or is there still a little part of team owner there that's behind that visor? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, the only one who can truthfully answer that would be Rafa, right? He's the only one that could actually answer that. But yeah, I'm sure there's a little bit of both. But hopefully, once that visor does go down, it's out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
We do still have drivers improving their pace out there. Hutter is one of them with a 56.4, his personal best last lap. Someone we haven't talked about today, Jim Johnson as well, with a 58.2. He's been stuck in a battle with Woody Witchard this morning. Unfortunately, unable to get by him quite yet. We're going to check on board. It looks like he may have dropped off of Woody just a bit, and now Witchard is on the attack on that driver in front of him. I think that's Joe Rizzo.
I think you're right. I don't know what happened to Tom Kopczynski. We were talking about him running in podium contention, and now he's down at 18th. And the word we're receiving is he had an incident in turn 5. Whatever the incident was, it was not significant enough, obviously, to bring out a full course yellow, so that's good news. But, man, that's heartbreaking for Tom, who has had really good pace here all weekend long, just no results to show for it.
Yeah, running in last place right now, so maybe just trying to limp this car home from here, as he's still within a few seconds of the next car up the road, so it must be at least close to at pace, but not at 100% at this stage. Love the Yokohama blimp views that we've been getting all weekend long around here at Watkins Glen International. Definitely gives a bit of a unique perspective at this track. We're so used to looking at it from ground level, and really seeing the drivers and how they attack some of these corners has been fascinating.
We have seen a variety of approaches to some of these different corners, and maybe, Riley, we can lean on your experience. Are there some corners here that you can take different approaches to and get the same lap time, or are we seeing maybe some of the relative inexperience of some of this field on display when we're seeing that from high above?
No, I mean, I would say that for majority of these corners, there are different lines that you can do. So, for example, just kind of rolling through it. So we have, the bus stop. It's pretty straightforward. You have to make it as straight a line as possible. Turn 5, you can change your line a little bit. Turn 6, turn 7, 9, and sometimes 10. Depends on really the true balance of the car. If you have a bit of understeer, you have a bit of oversteer. If the car's, quite frankly, neutral, you can certainly adjust your line and adjust your driving style to fit either or situation. And certainly this track, because of how wide it is, how much grip there is, and how fast the corner speeds are, quite frankly, you are able to adjust your lines a bit. Maybe have a little bit wider entry, a little bit tighter entry, and obviously compromise or enhance the exit. So you can certainly change your lines a bit, and I think that's what we were seeing right now with the Yokohama blimp. We can see a really good sense of what drivers are doing to try and get the most out of their race car.
Well, as I watch them cross the line here, I noticed that Scalzo now has only about 0.8 of a second ahead of Michael Clark. Clark has been on good form this season and probably wants to get back to the top step. He had a little bit of a blip back at VIR, but otherwise he went on a real streak all the way from the first race at Barber to the last race at COTA, winning 4 in a row. Now, he finished second in race 2 at VIR, so he got pretty close on that one. I don't think he wants to repeat that, and at least he's keeping the 26 within arm's length.
He's had a great year. He's been on the podium in all but 2 races so far this season. That's a big reason why he came into the weekend with an 82-point advantage over his next closest pursuer within that class. But to your point, VIR, especially race 1, did not go according to plan. He's had good pace here. Didn't get the win yesterday, but certainly kept Alain honest. Had a good charge through the field to get up into podium contention, and now is putting some pressure on Alain for that class lead. And you said he might want to get the win. I think he definitely wants to get the win, Joe. He's super motivated. He's got a lot of friends and family on site. We've seen a lot of people walking around with Clark shirts and things like this, and I can only imagine that they're here to support Michael.
No doubt. Yeah, you're right. It's a definite thing. The thing is I've learned not to talk much about him winning, because he still blames me for the losing out on that VIR race 1. And in fact, we got that battle that I was talking about a little bit earlier. Jim Johnson on, I believe, Wichard still. No, looks like that is now Rizzo in front of him. So it looks like Wichard had made past the 24 and is on his way forward. But let's not forget, that is Trollinger in behind them as well. No, excuse me, that's Jim right now trying to make a move down to the inside, coming towards the 90. Rizzo tries to defend. They're going to go wheel to wheel. In fact, he pinches him way down. Will they make it through that right-hander? They will, just about giving enough space.
Wow, that was awfully close between the two. Big defensive move there from Rizzo. He was sensing that pressure coming out of turn 11. I know the race control folks, they like if you make one proactive move, and to my mind, it looked like that's what Joe did. What did you see there, Riley?
Yeah, I saw the same thing. I mean, it was very, very much fair. Nothing really for race control to look at. But yeah, it was all hard but fair.
Speaking of race control, looking at things, we had mentioned Kopczynski's incident that involved. That was an off. Was that Jim?
Not entirely sure.
That may have actually. No, that may have been Wichard.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, he got very wide at the third part of the bus stop. Did a nice job to rein it back in, but yeah, that was definitely a close one.
Woody's been with us at every round so far, but still looking for his first podium, I believe. Yeah, his highest finish is a 5th so far in class this season. Right now, I think he's just outside of that 5th position, sitting in 6th, trying to chase on Sean McCaig is the white car that you see in front of him. But now he's put quite a bit of a gap between himself and that number 3, so see if he can reel that back in the remaining 11 minutes plus 1 lap. I was going to say, talking about the race control, it sounded like there may have been an incident between the 8s, and I saw the 81 up there briefly, but it looks like they may have corrected that. So now just the 8 car going to be investigated for whatever caused him to go to the back of the field. Well, as we watch Jim Johnson out of the final turn, Rizzo this time doesn't have to defend quite as much. He's going to hold that racing line, look for a little bit of a better exit coming out of the 90. Instead, looks like he's closed up a little bit on the number 3 of Woody Wichard. Hopefully he didn't hurt the car too much or lose too much confidence with that off.
Jim with that special patriotic livery on the car, celebrating the release of a new song that he produced. Very patriotic song that we've been playing all throughout the course of the weekend here, and I think we played a snippet of it yesterday when Jim was in the booth with us for the GT3 Cup race. And he was telling us that they've got a music video planned that they're going to be shooting in part at the next round of the championship up in Road America. So if you're going to be up there, keep an eye out for the camera crews and maybe position yourself strategically. And who knows, you might be in the music video of a song that was produced by a Grammy Award-winning producer.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually. I did not know that. Yeah. That's really cool.
Now we're going to we'll see Riley constantly trying to find his way to the cameras next time out. The neat thing about that song is actually us playing it on these broadcasts is before the official release. So that song's not even out yet, and that was kind of a cool thing that he allowed us to do, and was very eager to give us that great chance.
Texted us his explicit permission to use on the broadcast to make sure we were covered from all legal avenues, which we appreciate.
Chris Hutter's moved himself up into 7th. I'm not sure when that happened. The 81 still not close enough to Lonnie Unser. But on screen right now, this is Ian Porter. Less than 10 minutes to go plus 1 lap. Still holding a gap. I think it's been about what it was for some time at this stage. I've been every once in a while checking in on the pace between himself and his teammate Konda. And it doesn't seem like she's losing much. In fact, we're going to check in with her now as she heads through the inner loop.
Comparing and contrasting the lap times over the last few laps, there's not been much between the two of them, a 10th here, a 10th there, and the thing that's really struck me, lap after lap, they're running lap times within a 10th of themselves, right? So one lap to the next, there's no variation. That's incredible consistency for two drivers that are still very young in their development curve. I mean, Ian Porter did none of this until this year. And I do wonder if maybe his experience in the high-intensity world of professional esports, albeit not motorsports esports, has helped him somewhat kind of block out the noise, focus on the task at hand. He's a really competitive guy. You get that immediately when you talk to him. And I think some of those same habits actually, even though the format for it is different, the forum is different, some of those same habits still have served him really well here in racing.
Yeah, I would be interesting to have a conversation with him about that, just to see his mental psyche for the esports side of things and how that translates over to motorsports. I'm sure it's very, very similar. Just getting into your zone, if you want to call it that, and just being able to, in this case, click off laps, but in the esports sense, just get into your zone and do your thing and obviously perform at your best.
He was world famous, a world champion multiple times over. I mean, in Call of Duty competition, and we've seen somehow that translate here to motorsports. Riley, I'm wondering, how's your Call of Duty game? Does motorsports translate to COD?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Like if anyone says, "Yeah, let's go, do Fortnite or Call of Duty, whatever," I'm like, no, you guys do not want me on your team. I will watch happily, but you do not want me on your team because we are all going to be eliminated. We'll say that, right?
Right. The funny thing, this tidbit that stood out to me the most in talking to him about that, because we definitely had extensive conversations the first weekend, is when I asked him about the translation, he said the hand-eye coordination actually, even from Call of Duty, translated perfectly. The one thing he didn't really have was the foot coordination, because he wasn't used to using them in that sense. Now, he had been sim racing, but probably a bit of a different beast coming over to a real car and the feel that you have on the pedals.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting to hear, actually, just because I think for us as drivers, we kind of maybe take it a little bit for granted,
Sure.
Having someone new coming in that's, so switched on to the hand-eye coordination, adding in an entirely new element, which is your feet, to the mix. I'm sure that could definitely be a bit of a tricky situation, but, to his point, to Ian's point, the way that you really extract the most out of these race cars, whether it's a Porsche or other manufacturers, it's all in your feet. You drive the car with your feet. You guide the car with your hands. Obviously you have the steering wheel, but to really get the most out of the car, managing the weight transfer and getting the car to do what you want it to do, it's all in your feet. So to Ian's point, that's actually a very interesting comment from him, just to hear that.
We've switched back to Wichard once again, chasing on Sean McCaig. This is also for an overall top 10. Always love to boost those stats, so I'm sure he'll want to try and get that done here if he can manage to catch up anymore. He's definitely closed it down, but it's one thing to catch a driver. It's another to try and pass them. We'll see if he can get within arm's reach to maybe try and make an attack.
Getting down to the wire here, too. Under 6 minutes plus 1 lap to go in this race. We talk about these being sprints, and this is the final leg of that sprint because there's only a handful of laps left at this point. And, in the case of this battle that's been raging now for several laps, the car behind, you've had many, many laps to try and judge strengths and weaknesses relative to the car that you're chasing. And now you're starting to feel that intensity ramp up, right? Because there aren't going to be many more opportunities to exploit any perceived weaknesses.
Exactly. So, with 5 minutes to go, we see now Michael Clark on our timing screen here. He just put in his personal best lap of the race. He was about 0.6 quicker than Alan Scalzo. And then through Sector 1, he was even through Sector 1. We'll see how he does through Sector 2 here. But certainly he's starting to apply the pressure. He knows, I'm sure the Kelly Moss team on the pit lane has said, hey, we have 5 minutes to go plus the lap. So I'm sure he's trying to your point, get the most out of the car and really try and put some pressure there on Allen.
So what I find interesting about this is Kelly Moss is a large team. They have a lot of drivers under their tent. Scalzo is a one-car team. So it's a bit of David versus Goliath here. And so far, David is withstanding the onslaught.
No doubt. No, Scalzo, he's doing a fantastic job. I know Michael, he's certainly giving it everything that he can. And again, he just picked up about 0.3 of a second through Sector 2. So the gap of about 0.6 is now down to, in real time, about 0.3. We'll see how they do through Sector 3 here. But we see on the tracker, they're coming through Turn 9 at the moment. And they are pretty much right on top of each other. So was wondering if we can maybe get the camera to go to that battle. Here we are now.
Wow.
Look at that.
We don't have that kind of power,
no,
Riley.
I mean, who would have thought? But no, anyways, Michael's doing a fantastic job. He's starting to apply the pressure, and like we said, it's coming down in the closing minutes of the race here, so we'll see if Michael's able to make a move.
Well, you talked about Scalzo Motorsports, Joe, being a smaller operation, and it certainly is relative to the behemoth that is Kelly Moss, but it's a sharp little operation, and they've got Jean-Francois Dumoulin, who's something of a road racing hero up in Canada, and in the States too, to be fair, but he's part of that operation, and they brought him on board last year to help guide them, and he's providing a lot of the coaching for Alain as well, so great synergy there, and really smart people making this car go fast.
Well, yesterday, the 26 finally got his first win of the season here in the Masters class. He's got that off of his shoulders. Has that helped him here now? And will he be able to make it a back-to-back to start? As that was a big close-up there, Riley, coming through the inner loop.
It was, and I don't want to give away any secrets, but Michael, he certainly has kind of left, I think, the last little bit of time here to really start applying the pressure, and he's doing something different in the bus stop chicane there that he was really able to close up on Alain with, and this is where I think the advantage that he has in Sector 2 is really coming to fruition. So I think with about, really it's going to be probably we think 2, maybe 3 laps to go here.
Seems about right.
Two laps at the line probably. He's really going to be able to hopefully make a move. He gained another 1/10 or so there through Sector 2. We can see he's starting to close in.
So full disclosure, Riley's wearing his Kelly Moss shirt. He's here in a capacity where he's helping a lot of the drivers there. So we won't ask you to give away state secrets, but was there some discussion about making sure you conserve tires and equipment to be able to mount a charge at the end of this race?
No, it wasn't really more about the tire, so to speak. It was just about the line that he was taking through the bus stop, and it was actually very similar to the Nick Schaefer and Caroline Condas comment that we had earlier, just how much curb they were taking in that first part of the bus stop. But, Michael, he was exploiting a bit more. We'll just leave it at that. But, the Kelly Moss operation, to your point, Joe, it's a small truck and trailer operation, just, family owned. I don't know about how many cars we have. It's, I think, just 1 or 2,
Yeah, in relative terms in this series, a bit bigger, but still, I do love the feel and always love coming over to the team because always good conversations with everybody there and really good vibes. But I saw a little bit of a weave down the main straight by Scalzo this time. I think he's starting to feel it. He's trying to make sure that Michael doesn't get a sneak attack in anywhere.
Well, Alain's a smart guy, and he's been around this game for a while. Grew up racing little single-seaters in Canada, raced against some folks that made it up the ranks to the Atlantic Championship, ultimately into Dakar and IndyCar. So, he's tried and true when it comes to being battle-tested. So nothing that Michael's going to throw at him, chances are he's not seen before. But that said, he definitely does have his hands full here. Michael's been the guy to beat at this championship so far and flexing some muscle here late in the going.
Yeah, coming down through the chute, he closed in once again. This seems to be a stronger portion of the lap for the number 17 driver. They'll climb back up the hill. It is a steep uphill out of the toe of the boot. So important to get that throttle down as soon as you can, especially to prevent any attacks here into the heel as they slide through that right-hander and back up to rejoin the main circuit once again. I believe we just got the 2-to-go signal because the 86 has just crossed the start-finish line.
Yeah, it's where the leader is with if there's time on the clock, then we'll see the white flag the next time by now that the time has run out. So effectively 2 more laps for that battle we were just watching between Scalzo and Clark, and basically a lap and a half left for this guy, Ian Porter, who has built that lead down to 9.4 seconds over Caroline Conda. This is the kind of race we've seen from Ian Porter this year more often than not. He has gotten to the front and stayed there just about every race so far this year, yesterday being the exception that proves the rule.
9 seconds doesn't sound like a lot in longer races, but these are, as the name implies of the series, just sprint races. So 9 seconds is pretty impressive for a driver without his experience coming into this. Conda didn't get that yellow flag she was hoping for, but still she pushed her way back up into second, was able to beat Nick to the punch and actually pull pretty far away from him as well. You could see that gap before he switched over on the tower was up to, I think, about 8 seconds between her and the JTR engineering car.
It was a good battle, too, between Carolyn and Nick. 2 drivers still pretty new to this, and She was right there putting pressure on lap after lap, and finally he cracked under that pressure just a little bit, left the door open, and she was able to pounce, went right through and grabbed that spot away about halfway through this race.
All right, white flag being prepared as Ian Porter comes around to take that from the flag stand. Just has to circulate one more time, and he'll get his redemption at Watkins Glen, claim his first win here. And in fact, this will be, I believe, the 7th or 8th win that he's had this season. I know he's only been beat 3 times so far, twice at Barber, and both those times was not with a driver that was in the championship, and then yesterday was the only other time that he was not on the top step.
This would be win number 7 for Ian if he was able to pull it off here. He's been on the podium in every single race so far this year.
Seems like that battle is remaining close for the lead in the Masters category as Scalzo has to continue trying to defend Michael Clark on this series up until the last lap. 1/10 of a second between them as they cross the line. That is nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to try and work my magic here again on the camera. So if we could see the battle for P1 in class, that would be fantastic. Alan Scalzo and Michael Clark. All right, come on.
If
Magic.
only we had a guy that was listening to us.
If only. But no, anyways, Michael, he's certainly applying the pressure now. It looks like on the tracker that he gained a little bit more time again into the bus stop. Wait, hold on. We're looking for something. Oh, okay. I thought we were trying to look for the battle, but
I think we are.
Oh, we are. Maybe. That's Lonnie.
Well, there's Lonnie, so it'd be the next one back.
Right
there they are.
There we go.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike, our producer, behind the scenes, doing his best to try and get us that battle. And it looks like it will come down to the end, but it's so difficult to pass from here to the end of the lap, although that is a good run from Michael. I'm afraid we may have to jump away from it soon because I can see the 86 on the tracker coming out of the final turn. There he is. Ian Porter takes the win, finds redemption at Watkins Glen International. Meanwhile, back to the fight for the lead in the Masters. Michael is right there. It'll take something special to try and get by, but it looks like he is putting the pressure on. We watch from above, coming up into the penultimate turn. It's so hard to pass into that last turn unless he gets a better run, and he out-drags him to the line. Is that a defensive move that we saw from the orange and blue of Scalzo? I don't know, but whatever the case, he is going to hold him off and make it back-to-back first wins of the season for the 26.
That was a great scrap between those two. Michael threw everything he had at Alan, and Alan would not crack under the pressure. It was fantastic. A well-deserved win, and, even though he lost a little bit in the championship, Michael Clark to finish second still, and he had a big lead coming in. I think he's still in a pretty good spot looking for that title at the end of the season.
And let's give some love to Roland Crines in the 19. That is his first podium of the season in the Masters. Well done to Roland. Ooh, we got a nice little battle coming to the line. We're going to go 3 wide, Richard, Johnson, and Rizzo. And it looks like Richard will come out the winner in that one. But a great finish. We were looking for some excitement, and boy, did we get it in the Masters.
Less than 0.3 of a second between those 3 cars at the line. That was outstanding.
That'll be a photo to send to social media, no doubt. And that, I think, just about wraps up this last race for the Caymans. Thank you so much for joining us, Riley, and giving us your excellent insight today.
Absolutely appreciate it. It's always good fun hanging out with you guys. It was definitely an exciting race. So, yeah, good stuff. Hopefully the GT3 Cup race this afternoon provides just as much action. I think it will. But, yeah, certainly looking forward to it. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. We'll keep you around for just a couple minutes more. We'll send Joe down for podium festivities. We'll have our provisional results as soon as all the cars come across the line. We're still waiting on a few to do that. Wonderful to see a race go green to checkers. We had a couple of incidents. We heard that Tom Kopczynski had an incident, and there were a few others, but nothing significant enough that caused a yellow flag. And as a driver, you've got to like that, right? A chance to get in your groove and really run that race uninterrupted.
Yeah, it's certainly great, no doubt. I think for depending upon the situation, let's say for Caroline, she was probably wanting the yellow to come out, but for Ian, he was wanting to go green all the way through. He could have done another hour on track. He doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
So it depends on the situation, no doubt, but certainly from the fan perspective, we like to see the green flag racing. We like to see uninterrupted racing. It's always going to provide the better show, but overall it was a fantastic race, green from start to finish, which is always good, and really good way to end the weekend for these GT4 drivers.
Ian making his way into victory circle gives us a chance to look at our provisional race results from race 2 of the weekend at Watkins Glen. Ian Porter heads home Carolyn Conda by just about 10 seconds. Nick Schaefer comes home a fighting third. Good bounce back from him after a disappointing day yesterday. Lonnie Unser, another fourth-place finish. She's collecting those, it would seem, at this point of the season. Alan Scalzo, 5th overall, but crucially the winner in the Masters class. His second on the bounce after winning his first of the season yesterday. Great job fending off the points leader, Michael Clark, who comes home 6th overall. Chris Hutter, just off the podium again. 2 fourth-place finishes for him on a weekend which started with an accident. That is a repaired race car, so actually a pretty good recovery, all things considered. He finishes 7th overall, 4th in class. Roland Krine's first podium of the season, good result there. Bill Finnick and Sean McCaig rounding out the top 10. Then we get to Woody Witchard, who was in some really fun battles over the course of this weekend. He finishes 11th, just ahead of Jim Johnson, who's had 2 solid runs the last couple of days. Joe Rizzo, we saw him part of that 3-car, nearly 3 abreast finish at the end of the race. Rob Trollinger, Rafa Martinez, Tom Kopczynski. Something apparently went wrong with Paige Morales. We saw her ahead of Rafa Martinez at one point. She ends up down in 17th ahead of Thomas Kerr, and unfortunately Joe Petkus was unable to take the start. That's the car that was involved in an incident yesterday. We weren't sure what the status of that car would be for race 2, and that's always difficult on these doubleheader weekends, right? When you have an incident in race 1, it can be a double whammy if you can't get that car repaired in time for the second race.
No doubt. I mean, obviously the mechanics and the teams back in the paddock, they're going to do a fantastic job, but ultimately if there is too much damage with the car, it can become a bit of a double whammy, so to speak. But I just want to give some love to Roland Krantz. For him getting his first podium in the championship, he's a fantastic guy. Everyone at RS1 does a great job. I know Stephen McAleer. I don't think he's here this weekend, but I know Stephen coaches Roland a lot. I'm sure Stephen is quite happy for Roland right now, and they're a great family. So good to see that. Super happy to see that.
I think I did see Steven, so hopefully
okay.
he is
yeah,
here.
Good,
we'll
good,
be able to celebrate with Roland because, they've been working together for quite a little while. Well, Riley, we'll close with you on this. What's next for you? Where can folks see you plying your trade next?
So next weekend we'll be at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the IMSA weekend. We'll be there for the Michelin Pilot Challenge in the GT4 category, the GS category rather, and the Porsche number 91 with Kelly Moss, Riley Motorsports. So looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a great weekend. Weather looks to be fantastic. So very, very excited for me. It's going to be my first time actually going to that track. I've found a way to somehow miss it for the last 5 or 6 years. So excited to get my first crack at that place. Definitely going to do a bit of sim preparation for that, to Ian's new partnership on iRacing. So, it's going to be a good weekend. Really looking forward to it.
It is an awesome place. You'll enjoy it, I suspect.
What I've heard. It's what I've heard.
I'll look forward to seeing you up there.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
should be
you as well.
A good time up north of the border in Canada. Riley Dickinson, thanks so much for joining us here. And now we'll take a quick time out. On the other side, we'll come back, and Joe Peak will have your podium celebration for the second and final Cayman race of the weekend here at Watkins Glen.
Damn, I love America. Damn, I love America.
You don't get the label Black Sheep without doing something to earn it. Black sheep aren't bad, they just stand out from the crowd. They look at the status quo and say, we can do that better. And that's exactly what we do.
Big move down the inside for
Oh,
the lead
Laura
from Laura.
Eli takes the lead.
This
go side by side, but a good exit will give Laura Eli the win here overall in the first round of the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Series.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
From the countryside to the Broadway lights, it's a miracle. Sipping cold Coors Light on a Sunday night is a miracle. It's real as hometown pride, it's some apple pie, it's a miracle. And with an open mind, we can live our lives in America. Damn, I love America. Wake up every morning, go to work. Sunday, the day we go to church in America. Always been the one to do it first. We the greatest country on the earth, it's America. 'Cause in the USA, we work as hard as we play. We are one and the same. I'm in love with America.
Well, the time has come for the podium celebration for the second Cayman race of the weekend. Without further ado, let's head down to Victory Lane and Joe Peak.
Thank you, Ryan. Time for our last podium ceremony for the Caymans here in Porsche Sprint Challenge North America at Watkins Glen International. We're going to start off with the Cayman Masters. Coming in third today, driving the number 19, it's Roland Crines with his first podium of the season. In second today, with a fierce fight to the line, driving the number 17, finishing P2, it's Michael Clark. And our winner, backing up yesterday's performance, driving the number 26, Alan Scalzo. Congratulations on the second victory, back-to-back to start him off. But, boy, it looked like you had to work for this one a bit.
Oh, yeah, a lot. Yeah, Michael put a lot of pressure. So, yeah, stay focused and adapt to the car. The car was very, it was slippering. It was, was not the best last 5 laps, but I'm very happy. I tried to, I was able to manage to keep Michael behind. So, yeah, this one is, yesterday taste awesome. This one a little bit better.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, because of the challenge.
Well, you talked about the slipperiness. We had commented on the show that it's a lot cooler this morning. Could you tell that in the car?
Yes, yes, for sure. But the team will talk together. Maybe I was pushing a little bit too hard, and the tires weren't there at the end. I think it's probably that. Yeah.
Well, regardless, savor the moment. Back-to-back wins are victor here today, Alan Scalzo. Now that we've shown off those trophies, why don't we spray some champagne? That's our podium for the Cayman Masters in Race 2. This brings us to the Pro-Am podium. Finishing third today in the number 70, Nick Schaefer. Then in P2, having to fight hard for this one, it's the number 84 of Carolyn Conda. And on the rebound from yesterday, the number 86 is our winner. It's Ian Porter. Congratulations, Ian. I saw your posts on social media yesterday saying that the car was not 100%. Did it feel a lot better today now that you were able to kind of wrench on it a bit?
Yeah, a lot better. I mean, it was honestly perfect considering how bad it was yesterday with the contact. And I apologize to Nick and felt horrible about it. So I'm glad he's up here with us. And, yeah, sorry about yesterday.
Glad to see there's good sportsmanship abounding here. But talk about that first lap. Last time you lost it. This time, did you make sure and try and cover that off?
Yeah, just I don't know what I was doing yesterday, honestly. I don't know why I didn't defend the inside, and that was sort of the root cause to everything that happened yesterday. So I just made sure I covered it this time around, braked a little bit later, and, yeah, then drove a clean race.
Well, congratulations. 2 weekends to go before a championship potentially awaits. That's our winner here today, Ian Porter. And now that we've shown off the trophies, why don't we spray the champagne? Big congratulations to our Pro-Am podium here in the Cayman Series. We'll be back a little bit later this morning as the GT3 Cup will wrap things up here at Watkins Glen International for the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America Series. Join us at around 11:20 a.m. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.